this time, you gave us some really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Really gets into like the nitty-gritty of business development, right? It's not just about having a product or service that works, but it's like, how do we tap into something deeper for greater impact?
Absolutely.
Deeper impact and growth, so.
Your sources really hit on kind of the fundamental building blocks of business. You have to have that standard value.
Right.
And you have to have core competencies.
Okay.
But they really start to get into the weeds, so to speak, when they talk about this idea of a second core.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was so excited to dig into today. So what we're going to be doing in this deep dive is we're going to kind of break these concepts down. And hopefully what you'll be able to do by the end of this is to identify the unique narrative that's woven into your business's strengths. So think about it like moving beyond just reporting what you do, like here's what we do, to like uncovering this really compelling story behind how and why you do it.
Yeah.
Almost, like a journalist on the hunt for a great story.
Yes, exactly.
For a feature. And what's interesting is we have some really like fascinating excerpts here from like discussions on business strategy and even some thought-provoking parallels from sales methodologies.
Yeah, and that journalistic angle is really, it provides a surprisingly insightful way to think about what sets a business apart.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump right in. First, we need to kind of get clear on some of these terms.
Right.
Because there are some key terms that keep coming up here in these sources.
Yes.
And I think one of the first ones we need to tackle is, what exactly is standard value?
Well, standard value, as your sources point out, is basically the functionality, right?
Okay.
The basic benefits that your product or service delivers, it's what customers expect. It's the baseline, the price of admission, so to speak.
So what makes you relevant?
Yes.
Yeah.
To be in the marketplace.
Right.
It's like the table stakes.
Okay, so we've got that standard value, kind of the, foundational stuff. Then we have core competencies. How are those different?
So core competencies, those are the strength and capabilities that give you a competitive edge, right? These are the things that are hard for your rivals to replicate. They're very difficult to replicate.
Yeah.
These are, you build your differentiation, you build your long-term success on these core competencies.
Okay, so having those strong foundational elements is super important, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm gathering here is that just having that standard value and solid core competencies isn't always enough to achieve explosive growth or stand out in a very crowded market.
Yeah, right.
So that's where I think this idea of the second core comes into play.
Exactly, exactly. And this idea of the second core, it's about digging deeper into those core competencies.
Okay.
And sometimes it's referred to as the, core of the core competencies.
I love that.
The most potent and distinctive aspect within your strengths.
It's not about creating something new.
Right. It's not about reinventing the wheel.
It's about,
It's about amplifying what you already do.
Yes. So one of the sources, it's so interesting, makes a distinction between leveraged value and the second core.
Yeah.
Saying that one is quantitative and the other is qualitative.
Yeah.
So can you break those down a bit further for us?
Yeah. Leveraged value is tends to be quantitative.
Okay.
It's about, the strategies that the business employs to achieve significant growth, often through scalability, efficiency, thinking about network effects,
right,
strategic partnerships.
Okay.
But the second core is qualitative.
All right.
It's that unique story of your business.
I see. And so that's where this kind of comparison to journalism comes in.
Exactly.
Because journalists are masters at finding the story.
Yeah.
So what is that parallel in business?
Yeah, just like a journalist will seek out a unique angle and, kind of compelling narrative within a set of facts, a business needs to identify its own distinctive signature.
Yes.
Right. It's already present within those core competencies and then tell that story.
This is so interesting because one of the sources actually quotes a book. And the quote is, just about everything around you is possible feature material. Use your senses. Look around, absorb, notice, listen. Look, your job is to take these undeveloped ideas and churn them into something interesting for readers.
Yeah.
And I was reading that, and I was like, how does that translate into a business trying to uncover its second core?
Yeah. So, just like a journalist, will use their senses to find a compelling angle, a business needs to be hyper-observant.
Yes.
Both of its operations and the market.
Okay.
And that means, pay attention to customer feedback, listen to the why behind their needs.
I love that.
And notice emerging trends. What are those unique threads that make your business tick differently?
Okay, so It's not about inventing some catchy marketing slogan.
Right.
It's about uncovering this genuine narrative that's already there.
It's already there.
Yeah.
Waiting to be discovered.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, within the everyday workings of a business.
And one of the sources has this really great illustration with the story of this coffee shop owner named Alex. So can you walk us through how he began to find his story?
Sure. So Alex, he ran this coffee shop.
Okay.
And on the surface, he had all the boxes checked for a successful small business.
Right.
Good quality coffee, the right atmosphere, friendly service.
Right.
This was his standard value. And he had, built on that with core competencies, in creating this hospitable environment and brewing excellent coffee. But Alex felt a sense that the shop could be more. More than just, a caffeine provider.
It's so interesting because it's not just seeing customers.
Right.
You're observing behaviors.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
And then connecting those behaviors to potentially this unmet need.
Exactly.
That's the key shift in mindset.
That's exactly right.
So what was the catalyst for Alex?
Well, so Alex noticed a regular customer.
Okay.
Her name was Sarah. She was a freelance writer. And she seemed to, really find a sense of inspiration and focus when she was working at the shop.
Okay.
So it sparked this question in Alex's mind.
Gotcha.
Could the coffee shop be more than just a place to, grab a drink?
Right.
Could it evolve into a hub for creative individuals?
So he has this thought, which is the beginning of his second core.
Right.
Not necessarily in the coffee.
Yeah, not in the coffee making itself.
Right.
But in the kind of environment
Yeah.
that he was fostering.
All right. So then what happened?
So then Alex, he really started engaging in conversation with his customers.
Okay. So now he's seeking the story.
Yes, seeking the story. Right. And he started asking them, what do you do? What are you passionate about? What are you looking for in a workspace?
Okay.
And through those conversations, he noticed this pattern.
Yeah.
That many of his regulars were creatives.
Gotcha.
Writers, artists, musicians.
Right.
Who were seeking not just a place to work, but a sense of community and inspiration.
So that active listening is key.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. It's crucial.
Because that's how you really start to identify those shared needs.
And then you start to unearth this deeper narrative.
And then it moves into crafting the narrative.
Right.
So that's when the real transformation takes shape.
Absolutely. So Alex, took what he learned.
Yeah.
And he made very conscious decisions to cultivate this creative atmosphere.
Right.
So he started hosting informal writing workshops, open mic nights for musicians, showcasing local art on the walls. So the coffee shop started to evolve from, just a place where you got your caffeine to more like a vibrant community gathering spot.
And the impact of that was pretty significant, right?
It was huge, yeah.
So walk us through, what he experienced because of this.
So he saw a huge increase in foot traffic. Word of mouth just started spreading organically through the local community. There's a much stronger sense of loyalty among his regulars. And so the business effectively had found its leveraged value by tapping into this deep narrative.
Right.
It was offering something much more meaningful.
It's not just the coffee.
Right. It wasn't just about a caffeine fix. It was about belonging and inspiration.
Wow. It really shows how understanding those basic values and those core strengths is just the beginning.
It's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. But finding that deeper narrative, the second core, is where the real potential comes in.
It unlocks it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And to help kind of, businesses on this journey of finding the story, that narrative within their core, the sources actually introduce this framework.
Yes.
Which is inspired by journalism.
Yeah.
Right. It mentions this book that outlines 8 basic elements of good feature ideas, which are basically just compelling stories.
Compelling stories, yeah.
So unfortunately, we can't really go through all 8 in detail today.
Right.
But we can certainly start to lay the groundwork.
Absolutely.
So the first element is appeal to people. What is the core insight here for businesses?
Well, I think it's about moving beyond what you think is valuable.
Okay.
And focusing on what your audience actually desires.
Right.
What their problems are.
Right.
Your narrative has to resonate with their needs, their aspirations.
So the source actually gives another compelling story here, and this is about a plant nursery owner named Jane and her business, Greenhaven. So how does her experience kind of illustrate this principle of appeal to people?
So initially, Greenhaven was just focused on selling high-quality plants.
Okay.
Right, that was their standard value.
Standard value.
Built on this core competency of deep gardening knowledge.
Okay.
But Jane started to notice her customers asking for more.
More than just plants.
More than just plants.
Gotcha.
They were seeking guidance.
Oh.
Advice on care.
Okay.
Landscaping solutions.
Gotcha.
Information on sustainability.
Mhm.
So this is her recognizing a need moment. She saw this deeper desire.
Right.
Beyond just the transaction.
Gotcha.
And she began to really listen to her customer stories.
Okay.
Their frustrations with, wilting houseplants, their dreams of creating, these urban oases,
Right.
their concerns about the environmental impact of gardening.
Right.
She realized they weren't just buying plants, they were
Ugh.
trying to cultivate a connection with nature
Right.
and solve these challenges in their lives.
So she starts to engage with her audience in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, how did she craft the story then?
Well, she strategically pivoted her business,
Okay.
to offer a range of services and resources that address these desires.
Okay.
So she started hosting hands-on workshops
Okay.
on plant care, propagation,
Right.
developed personalized care guides,
Okay.
tailored to different lifestyles.
Right.
And then she even launched this subscription service focused on low-maintenance, sustainable plants for urban dwellers.
Okay.
So her narrative shifted from being a plant provider to being a partner in their gardening journeys.
That makes so much sense. So
Yeah.
embracing the second core, did this make a difference?
Big time.
What happened?
So Jane's new narrative resonated much more deeply with her target audience.
Okay.
They felt understood, they felt supported, they became part of this community, right? That shared their passion,
Right.
that helped them overcome their challenges. And this differentiation, rooted in appealing to these deeper needs, became her powerful second core.
I love that.
Set her apart from just generic plant retailers.
Okay, so the second element in this framework is facts.
Yeah.
So how do cold, hard facts play a role in uncovering your business's narrative?
Well, facts provide grounding,
Right. Yeah.
credibility to the narrative.
Okay.
They offer context, they offer depth. They make sure that your story isn't just some feel-good anecdote,
Right.
but it's rooted in reality,
Yeah.
and it addresses genuine needs. So, the source mentions that as Jane recognized these needs, she probably also researched trends.
Yeah.
Urban gardening trends,
Right.
Successful community building initiatives, data on customer preferences.
Right.
All of this factual underpinning,
Yeah.
it validates the intuition
Yeah.
and strengthens the decision-making.
So it's not enough to have a hunch.
Yeah.
You need to support it
Right.
with facts.
Right. With real information.
The third element is personalities.
Yeah.
How does kind of like injecting personality, I guess,
Yeah.
into your business's story make it more than just facts and figures?
Well, personality infuses it with character.
Okay.
Right. And
Right.
makes it memorable.
Yeah.
Engaging. It's about showcasing those unique human elements
Right.
that really differentiate your business.
Mhm.
So in Jane's case, it could have been her passion, right, for sustainable gardening. It could have been the demeanor of her staff, or even the inspiring stories of customers,
Yeah.
who were transforming their urban spaces.
That's how the brand kind of shows up
Exactly.
in the world.
Exactly.
So it's like we want to bring that human element to the forefront.
Humanize the brand.
Yeah.
Make it relatable. Make
Yeah.
it real.
The fourth element of angle.
Yeah.
So what's the importance of having the right angle for your business's story?
Well, I think the angle is, the perspective,
Go ahead.
the theme,
Okay.
the slant.
Right.
That kind of ties the whole narrative together
Right.
and gives it that compelling focus.
Right.
So for Jane, her angle could have been urban sustainability,
Okay.
empowering beginner gardeners,
Mm.
fostering a local community,
Right.
around a shared love of plants.
So it's finding that unique lens
Exactly.
through which you want your business to be understood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Choosing the right angle.
Yes.
Whether that's, innovation.
Right. Customer experience.
Yeah.
Social impact. Something else entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Not only differentiates the narrative,
Right.
it makes sure that all the elements, the facts, the personalities, the appeal,
Yeah.
that they all work together cohesively.
I love that. The fifth element is action.
Right.
So how does a business inject action into its narrative?
Action means creating opportunities for your audience
Okay.
to actually participate
Right.
in your story.
Okay.
So they go from passive observers to engaged participants.
So how would Jane have done that, for example?
So Jane could encourage customers to share their successes,
Okay.
in online forums, participate in planting events,
Right.
even lead their own workshops.
Wow.
So this active involvement really brings the story to life.
It creates like a two-way street where the audience feels like they're part of something happening.
That they're part of the story.
Yeah.
They're not just reading about it. Element number 6 is this interesting balance between uniqueness and universality.
Right.
How does a business navigate that tension when crafting its narrative?
Well, it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
You have to identify the distinctive aspect of your business or your story that sets you apart.
Right.
But you have to also make sure that the narrative resonates broadly, with this universal human need or aspiration.
Right.
So Jane, focusing on solutions for urban gardeners is relatively unique.
Okay.
Right. But this desire to connect with nature, to cultivate beauty, that's universal.
That makes so much sense.
Right.
It's like we need to find that sweet spot.
That's it.
Where you have a specific hook,
Mm-hmm.
but it taps into something many people can relate to.
Yes, yes.
The 7th element is significance.
Okay.
And this is described through timelessness, proximity, prominence, and relevance.
Yes.
So how do all of these contribute to making a business's story significant?
Well, significance is about crafting this narrative. It has lasting impact.
Okay.
Right? It resonates deeply with your audience over time. It's about tapping into themes and values that are enduring. So Jane's focus on sustainability and community,
Right.
these are themes that have long-term relevance.
Yeah.
So it gives her business significance beyond just, these fleeting trends.
And how do those individual aspects of it, timelessness, proximity, prominence, and relevance, all contribute?
Well, timelessness, that means aligning your narrative with those enduring values.
Oh, right.
Or those fundamental human needs.
Okay.
Proximity is all about the connection, the relevance for your audience, right? Whether it's geographic or cultural or emotional closeness. Prominence might be associating with respected figures.
Right.
Or ideas which elevate your story. And then relevance just makes sure that your story continues to matter.
Yeah.
In the face of changing time.
Yeah, makes sense. And the final element here in this journalistic framework is energy increment. What does that mean for a business trying to tell its story?
Well, energy increment is the passion,
Okay.
the enthusiasm
Okay.
that you, as the storyteller, infuse into the narrative. It's about conveying that excitement and that drive behind your mission, your vision.
Gotcha.
Right. Make it infectious. Make it engaging. So Jane's authentic love for gardening, her commitment to helping others experience the benefits, would naturally create that energy increment that resonates with customers.
So let your genuine passion shine through?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Let it shine through.
That makes so much sense. So it seems like this framework is so valuable
It really is.
for any business that's trying to uncover that deeper narrative,
Yeah.
right, within their strengths. And then the source kind of, brings it back to formally discuss the core of core competencies and leverage value,
Right.
especially as it relates to scaling, creating greater impact. So I think what they're really saying here is while your broad core competencies are super important, the core of core represents those truly distinctive strengths.
Yeah, it's at the heart of your differentiation.
Right.
And leveraged value, that's the strategic outcome.
Right.
Right, of using those strengths to achieve, disproportionate results with focused effort.
Those small hinges that swing big doors.
That's it.
I love that. We have a few more examples to really drive this point home.
Right.
And one is revisiting the bakery, which is now called Sweet Haven.
Sweet Haven, yes.
Yeah, so Sweet Haven initially had those core competencies in baking delicious goods, providing friendly service, delivering consistent quality as its standard value.
Right. What their baseline.
Right. But the discovery of their core of core came when Sarah, the baker, noticed a regular customer who always ordered the same simple cake. But Sarah, she had this idea to offer this personalized decoration and message for her anniversary.
Yeah, how thoughtful.
Right.
How sweet.
And that small, thoughtful act unlocked this significant leveraged value, didn't it?
It did.
What happened?
So tapping into that skill of personalization within her baking expertise,
Yeah.
she created this much deeper connection
Yeah.
with the customer, led to repeat business, enthusiastic referral.
For custom cakes.
Yeah, exactly.
It was small effort for significant return.
Exactly, yeah.
We also have this revisited story of the coffee shop, now called Beanhaven.
Yeah, Beanhaven.
Illustrate this idea of the core of core leading to leverage value.
So Beanhaven's fundamental core competencies were in brewing excellent coffee, and providing this comfortable, welcoming space. So again, that standard, enjoyable experience for their patrons.
So their core of core emerged when the owner, Jake, observed that many of his customers were like freelancers, remote workers, who valued the shop not just for the coffee, but for the community.
Well, this sense of community, yeah.
That it fostered. So how did they leverage that?
Well, Jake decided to introduce a membership program.
Okay.
Which offered benefits like, reserved seating, faster Wi-Fi, networking events.
Okay.
So these unique offerings built upon that existing strength.
Of community.
Enhanced customer loyalty, attracted more of their ideal clientele.
Leverage value.
Exactly. Finally, the source gives an example from a tech company, a software company called Techies.
Yeah.
So Techies had established core competencies in developing this reliable, user-friendly project management software, delivering standard value through this really robust, easy-to-use platform. Their core of core was identified when they realized this major pain point for many of their clients was this difficulty in integrating their project management software with other essential business tools. So their unique strength was the ability to create these seamless, efficient integrations.
Exactly. Solve that problem. And so that focus on integration led to this substantial leveraged value.
Absolutely. So by developing this suite of integrations with popular apps, they solved a significant problem, made their software indispensable. So that not only improved customer retention, it became a major selling point.
For new clients.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think these examples really drive home that, yes, foundational strengths are necessary. But it's identifying and leveraging that unique narrative.
That second core.
That truly differentiates the business.
Absolutely, and fuels the growth.
So it's moving beyond simply delivering a product or service. It's understanding, articulating the unique story of how you do it. Why you do it.
How you do it,
And what deeper value it creates. So I think the takeaway here is that understanding your standard value and your core competencies, super important.
Foundational,
But the real opportunity lies in digging deeper to identify and leverage your second core.
That unique narrative and the strength within those competencies.
That ultimately is what leads to differentiation. And meaningful growth.
That's it.
And remember, this isn't about fabricating a story. It's about observation.
Being observant,
active listening, and then utilizing frameworks like the journalistic elements we just discussed.
And they'll help you uncover and articulate that authentic narrative.
So as you're thinking about your own business or area of interest, I want you to consider this. What are those subtle stories? The refined strengths and those unmet needs that are hidden within your core capabilities?
That's the question.
What second core could you uncover, and how could that reshape your impact and trajectory? Start looking at your work with a journalist's inquisitive eye. Always seeking out that compelling narrative.
That's right.
That resides within the facts and functionality.
It's there.
It's there.